score 40-36. While Judge Barbara Perez has it 39-37. All for the winner by unanimous decision, the crown jewel.
You know it's AB, always balling, always boarding, a lot of bills. You know what's going on, man. You know, shout out to Crown Jewels Boxing, man. You know, my people. You know, they get it in over there, straight up.
Lamar Peterson giving a shout out to CrownJewelBoxing.com.
What's good, YouTube? Crown Jewel from Crown Jewel Boxing, back with a gem. Big news in the boxing world. First and foremost, the return of Gervonta Tank Davis has been announced, now known as Abdul Wahid. Will be fighting the Ghost Frank Martin in a fight that I'm excited to watch. I think it's a big fight, probably the best available opponent for Tank right now. And it puts to rest a lot of narratives that some of his detractors have been saying for a while. I want to get into that. Also, Devin, Haney, and Ryan Garcia came back into negotiations, reached an agreement, and will be fighting on April 20th. Supposedly at the Barclays Center. They have a media day there Tuesday, so I have to believe that, the posters are printed. It's been announced at Barclays. But Ryan is saying he wants to fight at MGM in Las Vegas, so there's a little dissension there. I want to get into Ryan and Devin first, since it was announced first. First of all, it is so clear. It's so clear to me that not only do the bulk of the boxing world know it, but now the other fighters, meaning Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, they also know it. That Tank is the guy in those lower weight classes. So much so that they're starting to try to position themselves and move in his footsteps, and I guess in hopes to attain the same type of star power that he has. What do I mean by this? Well, as we know, there's a pattern. Every time Tank has a fight coming up, during the build-up, coincidentally or not, there ends up being some type of rift between himself and Floyd Mayweather. It's always made public. There's always tweets. They're deleted. And then by fight time, it's kumbaya and they're fine. Well, what do you know? Ryan Garcia's last two fights, and now it's continuing with this fight, is publicly having dissension with Oscar De La Hoya. Is he doing that to bring attention to himself? Because we all know controversy sells. Just seems like, a familiar play that we've seen between Tank and Floyd. That's one. Number two, the location of the fight. I think they're following the pattern of Tank Davis, but in reverse. If we look back a couple years, in 2021, December, Tank fought in Los Angeles against Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Devin's last fight was in San Francisco, out west, right? Next fight, you guessed it, Rolly Romero, Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Devin's next fight, Ryan Garcia, Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And I think what has happened is they've kind of said, listen, we've tried it our way. We didn't necessarily attain the type of success or popularity that Tank did, so let's try it his way. I'm not knocking it, because like I said when they went to San Francisco last time, Devin doesn't really have a home and they're still searching. The reason why I don't believe it's a good strategy, though, is because how a fighter is marketed and promoted should be individualized to that fighter, his persona, his marketability, and his skill set. Tank could be marketed nationally and even internationally because he came with a ready-made audience, being as though someone was smart enough to stand him next to Floyd Mayweather, who was the highest grossing fighter in history of the sport, along with Al Heyman, already had a formula for creating a pay-per-view star, a successful pay-per-view star. That's one part of it. The second part of it is Tank is a rock star. Some people just have. He has that it factor. Some people just have it. The third and maybe most important part of that is Tank is a knockout artist. He delivers when he's under the lights. So when you have those three things going for you, you can kind of be placed anywhere within the boxing world. And if you're promoted correctly, you're going to be successful. Devin is a different type of fighter. The masses aren't really drawn to skillful boxers who go the distance for the most part, most of the time. Not that I'm against it, because as a former fighter myself, a current trainer, somebody who's done a lot of things in the sport of boxing, I can appreciate how hard it is to fight the way Devin does and how high of a skill level he has, and how much more difficult it is to fight that way when you don't have that one-punch eraser that can change things if things aren't going the way as good as you would like. But, again, it just doesn't transfer into being a box office success all over the place, because while hardcore boxing fans will be able to appreciate what Devin does, the way you blow up is by casuals and the general public knowing who you are and clamoring to see you fight, and they are into gore and knockouts, and he just doesn't bring that. But there is a blueprint for a fighter like Devin Haney to become big, and the blueprint, I can say somebody that I was closely associated with for a long time, and five-time world champion Virgil Quicksilver Hill. When you're not a knockout artist and you're a boxer, and you're not going to be able to draw kind of just about anywhere like as those mega stars can, you better suit it fighting at home in a centrally located place, developing a fan base in that one place, allowing the fans of your home area to fall in love with you, follow you, and pretty much maximize off that one area from the people who actually can stake some claim to you once you've built your career there, and actually kind of feel some type, I guess, of a lack of a better way to say it, some ownership of you, and they follow you closely. As you can see in Virgil's career, 90% of his fights were either in Bismarck or Fargo, North Dakota. Those were his home fans, so he was always able to sell out an arena there. Everybody's not going to be able to sell out arenas all over the place, and I think for Devin, had they promoted him, not in Las Vegas because there's just too much competition there with the other mega fighters, but in San Francisco where they had him his last fight, had they promoted him there on a consistent basis over a long period of time, I think he could have developed that same type of cult following. Following this model and coming to New York, Ryan's not Puerto Rican, so I don't think, the Latin fan in New York is going to gravitate towards him like that. Usually, traditionally, the Puerto Rican fighters do well there. Miguel Cotto, Felix Trinidad. He's of Mexican-American descent, and they both from out west. Devin is not a huge puncher, doesn't have that it factor, not a real polished star. So I just don't see it working as well for them. So while I see they seem to be, following Tank's blueprint in reverse when it comes to the locations of the fights, I'm just not sure what worked for them as well. But kudos to them for giving it a shot. I mean, to be honest, I think, the Ryan and Devin fight should be in Los Angeles or back in San Francisco, where Devin just had a really nice gate in his fight against Regis Prograis. I don't see it doing good pay-per-view numbers because, first of all, I don't see them really pushing it like that. I know the press conferences are just coming up this week. The first one's going to be here on the East Coast Tuesday. But and also, internationally, they're giving the fight away for free to the Zone subscribers internationally, and they're going to make Americans pay for it. That's, to me, a recipe for disaster. But again, that's what they chose to do. So for all the fans out there knocking Tank and how he moves, if you're supporting Devin or you're supporting Ryan, they're following in his footsteps. So if you have a problem with that, then you should have a problem with your favorite fighters as well. Even going as far as Devin's fighting Tank's leftovers, a guy he made quit in his last fight. So, and I mean, the Haneys were calling it an exhibition and saying it wasn't a big fight. It was a spectacle. It was a show. Tank was, just way too good for Ryan, and it wasn't a good matchup. Well, if it wasn't a good matchup for Tank, and Devin and Bill feel he's better than Tank, then why would it be a good matchup for him? But that's neither here nor there. I actually do believe it is a good matchup. I just think wanted to point out those things that it's just another clear indication that the PBC, Al Heyman are, still top dogs when it comes to the business of boxing, and when it comes to the cash cow and those lower weight classes, the guy is still Tank Davis, which is who I want to talk about next. Tank Davis has put himself in a position to kill a lot of the noise being spoken about him via YouTube, social media, what have you. Although I know they'll make up other things after this, but the knock on him, he doesn't fight undefeated fighters, which is not true. I think he's fought something like 7 or 8 undefeated fighters, but we neglect to mention that when we tend to be haters of Tank. But they say he doesn't fight slick black fighters. He follows the Mayweather formula where they only fight against fighters of Latin descent because they have a built-in fan base. Well, not this time. He's fighting another PBC fighter who was under the banner of Man Down Promotions, Earl the Truth Spence, and Frank the Ghost Martin. I don't see him beating Tank, but he is a very skilled fighter. He has deep, respectable power. He can box. He's left-handed. He's rugged. He seems to have a good chin. And he fits the criteria of that slick black boxer who all of you guys say Tank stays away from. So he'll get to check another box off, of proving people wrong, or at least some detractors wrong in this fight. Some will hate on the fight. They'll say, well, Frank, he was scared, or he ducked Shakur Stevenson. I was one of the people that said he ducked Shakur Stevenson. But in reality, I also said if he had pulled out of Shakur Stevenson's negotiations because he had an impending or possible fight with Gervonta Tank Davis, it would be excusable because, again, it's a business. It's called prize fighting, and we all know the biggest money fight for any of those guys down there is against Gervonta Tank Davis. So why would he take $1 million to fight Shakur Stevenson when he can make a whole lot more to that fight Gervonta Tank Davis? So that was one thing. He didn't come across as a guy that was scared of Shakur Stevenson, although I did think Shakur Stevenson would have outboxed him and beat him pretty handily, being as though Frank Martin was coming off of not too great of a performance in his last fight. But, it's business. And I did say back then, although I did get on him for pulling out of negotiations, I did give him an out and say that if he had a fight, if he had pulled out, and I kind of asked the question also, when I was on Knockout Boxing TV, 86 TV in the comments, and I kind of just put, well, what if he's pulling out of the fight against Shakur because he got a fight with Tank? And I think that's totally excusable, so I think we can't call him a duck at this point. He just made a smart business move. Still don't think he beats either one of those guys, so, if you're going to get beat for the most amount of money possible. You'll be fighting in front of more eyes. It's a bigger event. If he acquits himself well, his stock goes up in this fight, regardless of the result. So, smart move by him. Again, I'm just excited to see Gervonta Tank Davis back. I knew there would be an announcement that was imminent. I did a video last week talking about his a short about his ankle monitor being removed. And to all the detractors that were saying, when is Tank going to fight? Why is he not fighting? He doesn't want to fight. It's all about money for him. And I said, listen, the man is still, fulfilling his probationary obligations to the city of Baltimore. He was on an ankle monitor, which most of us know what that means. He's pretty much, you're on an ankle monitor. You're only allowed to move around during the day. You're only allowed to go to work and home, stuff like that. So, we'll kind of make it impossible for him to fight anywhere else than Baltimore. He couldn't train anywhere else than Baltimore, and for a fighter of his magnitude, he wouldn't be able to travel and promote the fight the way it would be necessary to do the numbers he's used to be doing. So I knew, nothing was going to happen with him until the monitor was removed. The monitor was removed a little more than a week ago. You have him announcing his next opponent on Twitter. So, again, I think this guy is still standing on business. And I'll say to Al Heyman, Floyd Mayweather, and Gervonta Tank Davis, take a bow, because these guys are trying to follow your moves. Although I don't think it will work. I think, again, Devin Haney's path to stardom would be similar to that of a Virgil Hill. Centrally located, fight at home, build your following, fight in an area like San Francisco where they don't have a whole lot of boxing. You become somewhat of a rarity. They develop an ownership to you. your star power grows. You know what I mean? Everybody can't do it just any and everywhere, and it's okay. You know what I mean? A sold out arena is a sold out arena. You got to do it where you can do it. So I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying I don't know that the model that has worked for Tank would work for him. But with that being said, that's pretty much all I have for y'all today. Until next time, keep your hands up, your chin down, your ass off the floor. Peace.